Hey guys, I'm Roll today. For today's video, I'll be giving you guys my Super Rugby Pacific prediction for the 2023 season. Before I do so, click the like button guys right now and definitely subscribe towards the channel. Other than that, as you can see, we do have the tier list. As you can see towards my right, we do have the likes of the finalists, as well as a great run. You made the playoffs. Just missed out, and of course, just wasn't a year. So yeah, we'll see you next year, essentially. But yeah, let's get straight into this. So as you can see below me, we do have the Chiefs. The Chiefs is the first team. I mean, look, they're a very decent side, guys. Don't get me wrong; they're probably one of the best teams actually in Super Rugby, I think, and they're definitely going to run this year. It's just determining if they'll make it to the final or if they'll make it within the semis. Really, that's kind of the way I'm thinking. So at the moment, I consider them a finalist or a probably say going on a good run. Making it more likely to go into the semis. But, I mean, look, they still have a lot of good players, guys. And, again, you have the return of, McKenzie back on the side now. So that's even an extra boost, could say, for the Chiefs. I mean, like I was saying with the great players they have, I mean, they have the likes of, Vitalik. They have, Luke Jacobson, Sumakula. They have, Takalaho. They have, Alex Nengaville. Again, Nengaville will leave at the end of the year to Munster, but they still have him for this year. I mean, who else do they have? They have Sean Stevenson. They have Brad Weber. I mean, it's a good side, actually, guys. So, I think, Chiefs fans should be confident this year. They can definitely, do something, in my opinion. I mean, look, if I had to be honest in terms of where I believe they'll place, will they be ahead of – I mean, look – yeah, I think they'll make it to the semis. I personally think they'll make it to the semis. So, because of that, I'm going to say they're going to have a great run. That's what I believe. But, yeah, we'll see what happens there because, obviously, it could change over time. But I'm going to say Chiefs will make it to the semis. So that's the reason why I'm going to put them as in the great one category, essentially. But, yeah, we'll move on then towards the Western Force, who is the next team. Western Force have a pretty good side, in all honesty, guys. I mean, look, they have brought in a lot of players, and this is what I was discussing with 2 Cents Rugby in the previous video. And definitely check that out, guys, if you haven't already. But, yeah, the Western Force, they have a ton of new players. I mean, with the likes of, Chase Tiatia, Flafanga. They got, they got Michael Wells. They got, there's one more one from Ian Pryor. They got Passato, I believe. There's one that's staying. Oh, Hamish Stewart. Yeah, he's the one who I'm really excited about. Hamish Stewart coming from the Reds as well. That's a steal. Yeah, they just have a good side overall. I mean, they have Matale. Yeah, it's a good side. But the problem is that with all those new players, will they be able to gel as quickly as possible? I'm not sure. I'm not really sure, guys. I mean, look, I think they do have the capability to make it. So it's one of those where do I think they'll make the playoffs this year? Oh, gosh, it is tough. It is really tough, guys. But you know what? I'm going to believe in the Western Force. I think the Western Force could pull in a shocker, and they could make the playoffs this year. So I'm going to put them in the playoffs, but I think they'll just make it. So they could be like the last team, essentially, like the 8th seed, essentially. That's what I'm saying. But they could pull it off a surprise, I think, with all of the players there. But again, they have to gel. If they don't gel, then, yeah, it just doesn't make sense. But we'll see what happens there, of course. Again, we'll move on then towards the Waratahs. The Waratahs are the next team. Waratahs, yeah, they have a really good side, guys. And like I said before in the past, they have a really good young core. That's probably the main thing, really. And look, they do have the likes of Edmund at the 10. They got, they got Gamble. They got Hooper. They got, Mark Quantawasi. They got, who else? They got Parisi. Yeah, they have a decent side. They have a really decent side, actually, when you think about it. They just signed Angus Bell, I saw, to a 4-year extension. So that's a big win, both for the Waratahs as well as Rugby Australia. So, yeah, it's just one of those where I think the Waratahs will actually have a good year. I mean, I know they made the playoff. Did they make the playoffs last year? I'm not sure. I think they did make the playoffs last year, if I'm not mistaken. So I think they're going to go on a run again, in my opinion. I think it's just determining if they'll make it towards, will they have a great run or will they make the playoffs? I mean, I think they'll definitely be in a position where they could definitely challenge one of the upper teams, but will they go further? I'm not sure. I don't think so, in all honesty. So for that reason, I will say they'll make the playoffs, and I'll put them ahead of the Western Force, actually, because I think they have a better chance when it comes towards the playoff games. But yeah, again, coming down towards this, I mean, these teams are most likely won't be playing at home as well. So it really just comes down towards who they're playing. But I think the Waratahs have a really good side, actually. So you really can't underestimate them, guys, because they could go far. You never know. You never know. But anyway, we move on towards the Hurricanes. I mean, look, the Hurricanes have a great side overall, guys. I mean, it's one of those where I think they're either seen as very underrated or they're very overrated And the reason for that is that because like I personally don't believe they have the squad depth compared to the rest of the New Zealand sides, for example. Like they only have a really good starting 15 in my opinion. And again, they have a lot of young guns actually they've pulled in this year, which is pretty impressive to see. And looking forward to see what they can do, of course. But at the same time, they still have a lot of they have a lot of experience which they can rely on, which is a good thing, by the way. And you can definitely rely on Waratahs, as he's the captain, of course, leading them for another season. But it's just one of those where I'm not sure. I mean, I personally don't believe the Hurricanes will have as good of a season as what most people think. At the same time, if there's one team to surprise me, it is the Hurricanes. So it's a tough one actually, because they could easily make the finals. They can go on a great run if they had to. I mean, they can definitely make the playoffs. It's just positioning where I put them. Oh, that is a tough one. That is a tough one. Wow. Yeah, this is a tough choice, guys. You know what? I'm actually going to say the Hurricanes could make the semis. They could make the but the thing is that I'm now thinking that the Waratahs can even make the semis. You know what? This may shock a lot of people, guys, and maybe I'm completely wrong with this, but I'm going to throw kind of a bit of a spanner, you could say, in the works maybe. And I'm actually going to put the Waratahs in the great run category because I believe they have a very good squad, guys, and a young core. So I'm actually going to say they could make the semis. But for that reason, I'm actually going to put the Hurricanes in the playoffs. I don't know. I feel the Waratahs overall have a better side than the Hurricanes. But, I mean, if I go from each position, yeah, I think that's kind of, look, it's my personal opinion. Well, you guys may slate me for that, but I just think the Waratahs have a really good team, guys. Maybe I'm overestimating them, but I think they could have a good year. But anyway, we're moving on towards the Brumbies. Look, the Brumbies have a very good side, guys. I mean, look, they have lost a lot of key players, from last year. They don't have Tom Banks anymore. They don't have, they have kept a hold of Nola Seo, Tom Wright, they have Ikata, I believe. They have lost Israel Simone, so that's a big loss as well. They don't have Fafang anymore. Obviously gone now towards the Western Force. I don't know. I mean, it's one of those where I don't think they'll have that. I don't think they'll be within the semifinal or final this year. I think their team is going through like a redeveloping stage. And again, you have to remember they don't have their coach anymore with Dan McKellar because he obviously stepped away from the Brumbies and moved then to help with the Wallabies with Dave Rennie. But of course, when Dave Rennie got let go essentially, and obviously Eddie Jones now in. Eddie Jones did want McKellar to stay, but of course Leicester Tigers coming in, and obviously now he's the new Leicester Tigers coach. So it's a big loss really for Australia, but again, it's a bigger loss you could say even for the Brumbies. So for that reason, I actually don't think the Brumbies will make the semifinals or finals, but I still believe they have a good team though. So I'm going to say they'll make the playoffs. I'm not going to say they have a better chance than the Hurricanes, though, because I think the Hurricanes are a really solid side, guys. It comes down towards who they play, really, in that quarterfinal. But we'll see what happens there. But I believe the Brumbies will miss out on kind of advancing in the playoff places. But again, we're moving on towards the Fijian Drua. I mean, look, they have a good side overall, guys. I'm not going to deny that. They were probably the standout team, I'd say, last year. In terms of the team that kind of surprised a lot of us, because again, this was their first season last year. Them and obviously Moana Pasifika. They were both brilliant in their own ways. Fijian Drua were just, they play with that force and that character, and they just kind of bust right through you, really, and they just find open spaces and just, obviously do the offload game, which is what they're known for. But it was just incredible to watch them play, guys. But unfortunately, because they play in that style of play, their defense is very kind of open, to say the least. That's why a lot of teams are able to kind of go right through them. So for that reason, I mean, look, they have won a lot of new signings this year. They have lost, I believe, Abosi due to off-field actions. But yeah, I mean, look, it's going to be a tough run for them. I think they have a chance. I'm going to say. I don't think it'll be like a next year category, but I think they'll have a chance. So I'm actually going to say they'll just miss out. I think that's what I'm going to say. They're just going to miss out on the playoffs. I think that's pretty fair to say. But anyway, we'll move on then towards the Blues. Of course, my team. The Blues were obviously very impressive last year. Winning, I believe, was it 13 in a row? was it 13 in a row? I'm uncertain. Or was it 14? Again, it was a big number, guys. It's probably the most impressive season I've seen from the Blues in a long time. Again, we did fall short in the final against the Crusaders at home, which is even, yeah, it was more heartbreaking to say the least. But it's one of those where you can't really fault your own. It was one of those games where the Crusaders just outplayed the Blues in pretty much every category. So, yeah, it was really just the Blues mistakes which led towards the Crusaders win. So they got to kind of I don't know, work on that obviously within this season. But do I believe they can make the finals again? Yes, I think they do have the ability to do that. Of course, they still have the likes of Boden Barrett. They have Patrick Tupeloto back now, of course. They have Mark Talea, AJ Lamb. They got Zoran Sullivan. Reiko. They got they have Hoskins and Tutu. They got Tom Robinson. They have, Anton Segner. They got Kurt Eklund. The list goes on. I think they have a great squad, guys. So I'm gonna definitely say they're in the finals category. Do I think they'll win it though? I'll get onto that question at the end. I'll tell you guys who I think will win. But yeah, again, look, when it comes towards the Reds, the Reds have a pretty good team overall, guys. Again, they have lost a few notable names, like I mentioned before, with Hamish Stewart. Look, they have brought in Luke Jones, if I'm not mistaken, and Tiniano Tupou, of course, is out entirely for the whole season. And if I'm not mistaken, I just saw it was reported that he will sign with the Melbourne Rebels for the next Super Rugby season. So that's another big loss. But we'll talk more about that in the future. But again, the Reds, I actually don't think they will have the year which a lot of people will, which most people think they will. So for that reason, I'm actually going to say they will miss out on the playoffs this year, which is a big call. I know it's a big call, but I do believe they may just miss out. So we'll see what happens there. Maybe I'm wrong. Reds are actually a great team, guys, but that's probably the big call I've made today. So we'll see if that happens. Again, I could be completely wrong here, but I don't think the Reds will have the same, the same type of chemistry, to say the least, as what they showed last year. So I'm gonna say Reds will just miss out on the playoffs. But again, moving then towards Moana Pasifika, yeah, I just feel bad for them because Moana Pasifika, they're actually a great team, and similar to Fijian Drua, they showed their class really from last year. But do I think they can kind of step up? I'm not sure, because it comes down towards the the lack of depth within their squad, but also just the starting 15 overall. And until we see a lot more talents kind of go into that system, look, they have brought in a few players. I believe one player from the Samoa 7 squad, but other than that, they haven't really made as many kind of transfers in. So it's kind of worrying to see, because I saw a few players have left already with Solomon Okata. Even Henry Stowers has left, I believe, towards Italy. Yeah, it's just, they have lost a few key players in there. So for that reason, I actually will say Moana Pasifika will just kind of, they'll miss out essentially, or it'll be their next. You have to look towards next year essentially. That's kind of the way I'm thinking at the moment. But again, I hope they do well in the future though, because they're a team which I'm starting to like even more and more when I watch them play. And you never know, maybe a lot of Kiwis or ex-Kiwis may play for them in the future. We'll have to wait and see. But again, when it comes towards the Highlanders have a very good squad, guys. A very underrated squad, I think, in terms of what they can provide. Again, another player who is this will be his last season in Super Rugby, which is crazy to think. But Aaron Smith will be his last season at the Highlanders, as he is going to move to Japan after the World Cup. So this is the last time we're going to see Aaron Smith in a Highlanders jersey, which is mind-blowing to think. But at the same time, it makes sense, because now you have, kind of his, not Padawan, but you have like the apprentice essentially going to take over, and that's obviously Fala Fakatava, and he is one hell of an apprentice, to say so, if I say so myself. So they have a good kind of understudy, I guess, towards Aaron Smith. But look, I think the Highlanders have a pretty decent team this year. They do have the return of Parape Parkinson this side, and I think he can definitely add a lot towards that lock position. They have Freddie Burns now coming in from England, which is a big signing actually for them. A good kicker, definitely clutch, and a lot of the kicks he does. But we'll see what he can bring towards the side. That kind of allows, I guess you could say, Mitch Hunt maybe to slot back and towards that 15 spot, which I do believe he's better at. Again, you can rely on Banks if you need to, like they did last year. But I just think Freddie Burns is a better signing, better player than him. So I think Mitch Hunt at 15. Burns and maybe at at a 10. That kind of works better, I think, for their system. But overall, pretty good side. I mean, they still have Mikael Tudu as well, so he should have a good year for the Highlanders, I believe. But do I think they'll make it past? I mean, do they miss out? I don't think so. I think they do make it, guys. So I think they will make the playoffs. So I'm actually with the Highlanders in that category. Yeah, I think the Highlanders will make the playoffs this year. I think they have a good side, guys. So I'm gonna put them in that category. Again, when it comes towards the Rebels have a very decent side here, guys. They've actually have made a lot of acquisitions this year in terms of transfers. I mean, they've brought in Monty Ione, which is probably the most notable name, I'd say, out of the bunch they've brought in. Again, they've brought in other players in other positions. Alex Maffey as well. They're bringing back, of course, but yeah, I mean, Monty Ione is the big signing, I think, for them. Again, they have lost a few players though, with I believe Matt Tamua obviously now leaving, but it still feels like a good squad, and obviously with more potential for the future. I mean, like I said, with Tony Tupa now joining the side next year, it just feels like the squad is getting better and better as the years go by. But do I think they have the capability to make the playoffs this year? I'm unsure. I'm unsure about that, really. I think they'll just be they'll be in the race, but I think they'll kind of fall behind in the latter stages. So for that reason, I'm gonna put them behind the Reds in terms of how well they do. But yeah, anyway, the last team, the Crusaders. Yeah, what more can I speak about them? I mean, this is going to be hopefully as a Blues fan, the last year Robinson is in charge of the Crusaders, because yeah, he just keeps winning. He just keeps winning title after title with them, and it's just so frustrating to see. I mean, last year was just heartbreaking as a Blues fan, but at the same time, you just gotta kind of applaud him really for what he's done there. So yeah, no, they have a great squad, guys. They have a great squad. I mean, look, they have lost a few players on the likes of George Bridge. He's a very big loss, I think, for them, and which not a lot of people will understand. Even like Brent Hall as well, obviously gone to Japan, but I mean, they still have retained a lot of good players, in likes of Will Jordan, Richie. I mean, Richie Wong, another player who will go to Japan after this year. They still have Lester Fananku. They got who else? They got Jack Goody back now, obviously from injury. They have Brandon Enor. They got gosh, I'm forgetting so many players now. Scott Barrett. They got Whitelock. They got Cody Taylor. They have a good side, guys. They have a really good side. So they'll definitely make the finals, guys. I mean that's kind of stupid to think if they won't make the finals, because they're just that good. They're just that consistent, really. But in terms of winning the final, do I believe they can win it this year? I'm unsure. I'm actually unsure. This year is more. I think will be a lot more closer, I'd say, in terms of the table compared to last year. Again, when it comes towards the playoffs, it's a completely different situation. But in terms of the table, I think the Blues are just so far ahead last year. I mean, for a lot of it, and I don't think they'll have the same season. But at the same time, when it comes towards the playoffs, I think the Blues will be more prepared this time. Again, the Crusaders are just it's their livelihood essentially being within the playoffs, and especially that final, because they normally win every time. But yeah, look, as a Blues fan, I got to be confident. I'm going to say my Blues will win this will be our year, essentially. We'll see what happens, but I'm going with the Blues. I think they'll win it this year. But yeah, hopefully they don't prove me wrong. But look, about to say young player of the year, I'm going to probably give it to who's a young player who I think could stand out this year. I mean, I think I'm trying to think of every side, which player could stand out. I mean, they have a few good players. Blues, you know what? I think for the Waratahs, actually, I'm going to go with Mark Kwantawasi. I think he's going to have a good year for the Waratahs. So he's my young player of the year, I'd say. And then in terms of, I guess, like MVP, if I'm going to give it to the Blues, then I've got to give it to, I don't know. No. Oh, gosh, it's hard. I mean, they have a lot of good players, guys. I think the easy option is just to say Beauden Barrett. Yeah, I'm just going to say Beauden Barrett. I think he's the easy option because he is going to control the game most of the time. So, yeah, he'll be my MVP. But, yeah, anyway, that's it, guys. That is my super upbeat Pacific prediction for this year. Let me know in the comments if you guys agree or disagree. Again, click that like button, guys. Definitely subscribe. And other than that, guys, I'll see you guys next time.
Feel I'm in the mood for a switch up. I hit the function, hit the rose till I hiccup. I hit the stage and leave with money that's a sticker. She picture perfect, so I told him I'm a flicker.